There's like two guys in the space who definitely work harder than I do. How many shows do you do a week, Adam? Me and my brother talking about this because I was complaining about I did like 5 shows or something like that in a week, and he's like, "Dude, you ever seen how many Adam does?"
Well, I haven't figured it out well, but I do my show every day, so that would be 5.
That's 5.
And then I do.
And how long is that show?
Like 2 hours.
There you go.
And then I do me and Dr. Drew, so that would be 3 more. So now we're at 8. And then I do a car cast, 9. And then I do a home improvement one, 10. And then I do
nobody talks who's better at talking.
Oh, and then I do me and Mark Garrigus do like a legal show.
Really?
So I guess we're at 11.
Holy shit!
That's complaining about 5.
A motivational podcast. I guess 12, and then probably 15 or something.
How insane is that?
Dude,
Damn.
that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's weird.
That's
What
dope.
drives you? What is you just have things to say and you're just interested in those things?
I a couple things. Like first things first. Like people always go, "Oh, you work so much." I go, "Is this work? Is what we're doing now work?" I mean, I know what work is.
Work is
people
fucking
grew up
hitchhiker.
fucking work meant you got on the roof or under the building. You know what I mean? Like work was like getting dirty. Work was moving stuff. I grew up with work really meaning like something tactile and physical. Like work meant you got paid by the hour and you had to move shit or spread shit or rip shit up and throw it in a dumpster.
Not work with your face, right? You're like working with your face.
And I was like, when it's talking. So to me, my mentality was kind of like, you work all day. For me, it was construction. And then at night, maybe you go out with a couple of friends and you have a beer and you do this. So I had it so ingrained in me that this isn't work for such a long period of time that when I started doing this, I never looked at it as work. And I was always curious, like, I started 12 and a half years ago, and I'd say to like other, no one did a podcast, but everyone kind of come in, like Sarah Silverman or something like that. And I go, "You should do a podcast." And I go, "How often?" I go, like, "Well, every day." And they go, "Oh, come on. I'm not going to do that." And it's like,
Right.
Do what?
She's doing it now.
You sit around and you talk.
Yeah.
I mean,
how many comedians struck up a podcast during this pandemic?
Well, he was doing radio 26 years ago. I met you 26 years ago when I did Loveline or Dr. Drew. When we were doing, when I was on Mad TV, the cast came on.
That's right.
And then I remember it was funny because I remember you surprising me with how witty you were. And I was like, this fucking dude's turning everything into funny. or everything. And even you were doing it back then. I told you, I've never seen anybody do what Adam did, which was get up on stage in front of a packed house at Brea, and they were throwing out suggestions, like topics, and he would go on.
Roll with it.
He would roll with it, but do a fully formed bit, basically. And he did that for an hour. I watched it, and I came up to him. I didn't know you that well. I'd guessed it on, and I go, "You're the best in the world at coming up with improvising on the spot."
That's my favorite compliment
You are.
I've ever received, and I always appreciate when you say that.
No, but I mean that's just from the more than 10,000 hours. How many hours you've spoken? 1 million hours. Probably 1 million.
Podcasting?
Yeah.
You did 10,000 last week.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if a black belt 10,000.
Oh yeah,
You're a grandmaster. Adam.
Millions.
Done thousands of
But Adam,
shows now.
you did Groundlings, right?
Yeah, I did Groundlings. I don't. People have this sort of weird cartoon version of me, which is like, I'm just some thug that came off the construction site, like kind of knuckle dragging, just kind of blue collar douchey guy who has some sort of homespun witticism. Yeah. Like they look at me as like a sort of comedy savant, but it's like, but kind of like Rain Man with comedy.
Yeah.
But the reality is I was at the Groundlings when I was like 21, 22. I went all the way through the Groundlings after the Groundlings was done with me, because I didn't make it into being a Groundling. I went off and started or helped start a group called the Acme Theater.
Oh wow! I didn't know you helped start that.
I was at the Acme Theater 2 or 3 names before it became Acme.
Damn.
Like we were like the Two Roads Players and the whatever. Answering an ad in the back of the drama log that my girlfriend found, and then I built the Acme Theater that was on Lancashire, which is now turned into something else in NoHo back when they were trying to get like NoHo off the ground. So I had this real training in improvisational comedy, but no, everyone thought I just was a construction guy who was like funny, you know, kind of off the cuff. But when I got into radio, and the reason I progressed so quickly as soon as I got into radio is because I had all this training, and I knew how to use the training. I knew, you know, yes, and not only that, but like I knew all.
Do you know about the
business
Groundlings?
of improvisation?
No, I'm saying it's so intense.
For sure.
I mean, right? The training at the
Yeah.
Groundlings is fucking intense.
You have to audition just to take a class,
you
right?
got to go through
Like
like
to get to the final, like Saturday night.
it's they
there's a
work
nightmare.
so hard.
It's like Saturday Night Live.
Yeah,
right?
I watched Taram Killam do it.
Yeah, it's Saturday
he went,
Night Live.
Yeah, he went through it, and it was like the amount of work that went into coming up with characters fully formed in situations.
Because there's a Groundlings here, and then is it Groundlings 2 in Chicago, where like
That's,
like all the big
Second
boys,
City.
Second
or
City,
Second City.
Second
Yeah, I mean,
City.
there's a
Same
bunch
thing.
of them. It's all.
Unbelievable.
There's a few big boys.
It's
though.
great training, though.
It's great training.
Great
And then what they do, you know, it's weird because it's invisible and you don't get a certificate. So people, you know, when you weld, people
no degree.
know you can
Yeah,
weld.
that's
you know
right,
what I
man,
mean?
that's
but,
right.
But there's no degree. Like no one knows who's been through it or has it. But there are definite rules. There's definite techniques. You know, they're pretty brutal. Like I took my first groundling class, I don't know. I was probably like 20, 22, 23. I was just making $9 an hour doing construction. I didn't have insurance for my truck, and I still gave the groundlings like $250. And when we're done with my first like beginner's course, they were like, "You're funny, but you can't act for shit. Like you don't know which way to stand. You don't know what you know.
You don't know what to do with your hands.
'Cause I had all the people there were like college people who did drama in high school and stuff. And I played sports and then I got into construction. I didn't know. So they'd be like, Adam, move a little further upstage. No, not downstage, upstage. And I'd be like, I don't know what stage is. And they go, just stage left. And I'd start moving like the other direction. And no, and I'd pull my dick out. You know, I don't know what's going on.
This little thing.
Whoops.
They were
Say stage
That's what
left.
happens when you tell me to move left and I move right.
I'm confused.
I dressed to the left. So they were like
confused.
They were like, "You're funny. You don't know how to act. You don't know anything." And I was like, "All right." They go,
All right.
"Go take an acting class, and once you complete your acting class, then we'll let you move up to intermediate." And I've seen them cut. Like I have had classes with 14 people in it, and they told 12 of them to pack
like
their
the Navy
bags.
SEALs.
They're
They're like,
in
"You
one
get
shot.
out."
But to your point, I think a lot of people would be surprised what guys came out of the Groundlings. Like, you know, Dak Shepard did it forever.
Yeah.
Like you'll hear guys talk about it and then like, yeah, when I was doing that Groundlings in Hollywood, like fucking
All
Dak
of them.
Shepard was there too.
Will Ferrell. I mean,
Oh,
so
tons
many
of
people.
so many great people came out of there, and so many people
Melissa
who
McCarthy.
are working who like you said trained and didn't make it, but
Didn't make it,
but you know
yeah.
still crushed. But what did you see? Did any of you guys see one movie in the Oscars? What do you think of Hollywood? Is it?
Oh no, I saw the
The one you told me to
Sound
watch.
of Metal?
what? No, I did see Sound of Metal,
wanna-
but
was that
what's the
the
one
girl
with the
back?
girl who gets the revenge?
Oh, Promising Young Woman.
Promising young
lady.
Yeah, I saw that on.
Yeah,
Wh-
good
wh-
ending.
What do you think of like? Do you think Hollywood is? I feel like nobody's talking about. Like, remember when a movie would trend, a movie star would do a movie, and we'd all be talking about it.
Well, to be
It's
fair,
so
I
atomized.
talked to our boy about this, who's high up there in that Hollywood world, and I was making fun of the Oscars, and he goes, "Brendan, stop." He goes, "Everyone's regurgitating the same perspective." He goes, "You got to realize this. Granted, they are pushing this agenda, but it's also the studios and the main actors. They're not working, dude." Because the studios shut down, so the big boys, they're not out right now, and also they know they can't be in theaters where they're making their nut, so they're chilling, man. It's like he goes, it's like you don't see Joe Coy and Dave Chappelle and these guys. Dave did, but you don't see them touring around right now, or you don't see musicians dropping their biggest album because they can't tour.
Right.
He's like, so the big dogs are just waiting in the shadows, waiting for this shit to open up, and then you'll start.
It's a
seeing.
2 year-
'Cause
it's a 2 year break.
It's all
They're
ready
not
to
making
go.
they're not making the same
Because
money.
he's like, the narrative you keep pushing, I get it, and yes, they're doing that thing, but the big boys aren't in it for a reason.
Well, movies will be back.
Movies will be back. How about when I got off stage at the Laugh Factory? right away you go, bro, I figured out what you look like. I'm like, what? This is from a bunch of other comics. I'm like, what? You're like, you look like a Rottweiler. We got a shit together.
Oh, you do, bro. Yeah.
Come on, man.
I'm just saying, dude.
Grab that mic, son.
You do. Look, bro, look.
Guy. So this Colt Brennan was my roommate for a little bit at University of Colorado. He's a redshirt freshman, and we would drive together in the freezing weather in University of Colorado during, they called Dirty Dozens. And it was the